And opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Hey everybody, how you doing? We're Moms for Justice. I'm Carolyn, and this is Jocelyn.
Hello, good evening.
How you doing, girl?
Good.
Yeah?
I feel like I'm really high.
Yeah, you
Compared
are
to what
really
you're
high, and I'm
saying.
like super low. What's going on
I
here?
know.
I feel like I need to be up. Yeah, that's weird. I think I just didn't position it right or
Me-
whatever, but here, you
I'll
lower
lower
your
my
chair.
chair.
There you go. Anyway,
All right.
I'm so glad you guys could join us. We're doing JonBenét today. She is probably the most famous child unsolved case out there, and I thought we would take a stab at it. She's a beautiful little girl. She was 6 years old, and she passed away back on December 26th, 1996. Do you remember this case, Lynn?
Oh yeah. I mean, who doesn't?
I know.
Honestly, I mean, if you're our age, right? Who doesn't? It was just one of those really freaky things. Like, how do you lose your child in your house? I don't think I ever really heard of that back then.
Right,
But plus, I
right.
was a lot younger, so you don't really hear things like that. But yeah, it was very much a detriment.
It has so much evidence, and with all that evidence, it's still unsolved. It's been 28 years. And John Ramsey, just so you guys know, John Ramsey is the father. He,
Right.
and here's a news article from on that. He is actually trying to get DNA resampled. It says here, plans to meet with the Boulder Police Department chief in Colorado next month. But that was actually like 11 days ago, this article. So it's for January.
Right.
Right.
But he
And
also wants to use that DNA results to look into the database that where everybody did the 20 me and a me one whatever the 20 me 23 and a me. Am I saying that
okay.
right?
I don't know, but it's an
Yeah.
independent genetic genealogy research lab as he pushes local authorities to allow an outside lab to test crime scene evidence from his daughter's unsolved case. So yeah, 28 years ago, and he's requested a meeting with Chief Stephen Redfern in January, and he is saying, absolutely, let's get together. So that's good. He's responding back. But it does say down here, there was one part I wanted to make sure I showed. Okay, he wants police to retest certain evidence for traces of DNA, including external male DNA that federal officials disclosed in 1997, and test other items for the first time. So,
Right.
first time
Right.
is the key word for me because, if there's anything in addition that they have not tested, they need to get on it now because it's kind of getting, I mean, anybody that could testify, and some have died. Patsy's dead. You've got, old witnesses, and I don't mean witnesses to the crime, but witnesses, neighbors, friends, things like that, people
Right.
who knew the family at the time.
But
So
he wants to use the results against that database. Like, there was a lot of murders that were actually found unsolved cases because
right.
the the police station used this 23andMe database and any like one of those genealogy databases where they look for any kind of any matches, because what happens is they usually find like the cousin or they find the uncle, and they're able to obviously do their detective work and bring it down to that one person that possibly the connection between the unsolved murder and the actual murderer. So
Right.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I do too. And I
Yeah.
hope that finally we can get something. I mean, there are some possibilities that we'll get into. I've decided we're going to do a two-part on this one, and it's because there's just so much
Okay.
information. I'm going to bring us all the way up to the time of the crime and what happened around those 2 days and just after. So anyway, just to let you know, and I'll show a little bit of some of this video just in case you guys want to see some pictures as I'm talking. So anyway, so she was 6 years old, found dead in the basement of her family's Boulder, Colorado home. She was strangled with a garrote and suffered blunt force trauma to the head. A ransom note was demanding $118,000 was found in the house. I want to get into some detail about that ransom note. But JonBenét ended up discovered in the home, and she was not kidnapped. The investigation quickly became pretty contentious. Boulder police initially focused on the parents, John and Patsy Ramsey, as potential suspects. Over the years and much later, they were cleared, but it was much later. They went through quite a bit of an ordeal to get there.
Well, they actually, if you remember, they really were cleared earlier, but they didn't release the information. They held it.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
there was a lot of blaming for a long, long time, even despite them, even with the handwriting and all that, which I'll get into. But so they were cleared of any involvement much later. Then the theory became an intruder theory with that Detective Smith guy. He ends up being an important part of the case later on. No suspects, though, were ever definitively identified. The Ramseys have always maintained their innocence, and the case does remain unsolved today, which is what really stinks. So there has been no justice in the case, which is horrible. And how has it not been solved, though, with that much evidence? I mean, that's what I want to know. Genetic genealogy and DNA, how has it not been solved? I mean, I've never heard of so much evidence with a case lasting this long.
Well, I think it was a little bit of them just only focusing on the parents and not really looking outside as much as they should have. But, you know, they have a new detective now, which is why I think it's also being opened up, right?
Yes, for sure.
Right.
So, okay, so let's just do a little backstory because, everybody has done this case. And I know if you're watching right now and you know the JonBenét case, you're going to hear a lot of repeat stuff. But, I mean, I'm just trying to, since this new DNA possibility of testing is going to come up, let's just walk through it again and see if maybe we can discover something we didn't discover before. So I'll give you some backstory. JonBenét Ramsey, he was born December 7th in 1943 in Lincoln, Nebraska. He grew up in a middle-class family. He attended the University of Michigan, where he earned a degree in electrical engineering. And he ended up in the U.S. Navy and later worked in various positions within business and technology sectors. He had 3 kids, John, Beth, and Melinda, with his first wife, Lucinda. Unfortunately, he lost his daughter, Beth. She was killed in 1992 from a car accident at age 20. I don't think a lot of people realize that this man has lost 2 kids. They forget that.
Right.
Yeah. Imagine losing 2 daughters, I mean,
That's so true.
Yeah, it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. Right. So, as a little tidbit, he did admit to cheating on Lucinda early on with a secretary in the 70s. They eventually ended up divorcing in 1978. Then he married Patsy, I hope I say her name right, Patsy Paugh, Paugh, in 1980. She was his second wife. So a little bit about her. Patsy Ramsey was born December 29th, 1956 in Parkersburg, West Virginia. She grew up in a pretty privileged background, was described as very popular, attractive, and she's a beautiful woman, absolutely beautiful. After high school, she attended West Virginia University. She majored in journalism. She did go on to do the whole pageant circuit, like beauty queen circuit, competed and won and did very well. Go ahead.
Right. Well, I was just going to say, what's another striking thing about this case was not only obviously her missing on Christmas Day, but the fact that she did pageants. And really, and we're calling 28 years ago, I don't remember even knowing that kids had pageants. So I think for a lot of us, it was just like, what do you mean? Like she's in a pageant, and then just to see the way that they are in the pageant and how they look, I think that was another kind of red flag for a lot of people. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
What
Yeah.
this is going on? Because there wasn't social media. You wouldn't know anybody who did a children's pageant unless you know somebody who was doing a children's pageant. And who knew? I didn't know
Right.
anybody.
Yeah.
So I think that also brought in a lot of attention, not only the case of being, a 6-year-old Christmas, but pageant.
It was much, sorry for the dinging. Sorry about that. So the pageant thing and the whole beauty queen thing was actually more popular in the 80s and 90s than it is today. I mean, we did have the whole Dance Moms TV and stuff like that. Let me just tell this person.
You definitely don't hear it ever now, I feel like.
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
let alone,
right.
like nobody's even watching Miss America or Miss Universe. I remember growing up watching that, it came on, you watched it. And I remember all of us talking about it after, but I don't remember like kids her age doing pageants. So I just found that,
Yeah.
I was
Rarity,
in my
I
early
guess.
20s. Yeah.
So anyway, so together they had their son Burke in 1987. He is described as introverted, shy, and socially awkward. Okay. Over time, John ends up becoming very successful. He rises to a position of CEO at Access Graphics, a computer service company. He was named Entrepreneur of the Year after grossing $1 billion. And 1990, JonBenét was born. And then they relocated to Boulder, Colorado for his work. So
Wow.
by the time he had JonBenét, he had really made a lot of money and they were very wealthy. So JonBenét, she's named after both her parents, John and Patsy. But John Benet, because John Bennett was his name. JonBenét Ramsey. Okay. So they called her JonBenét, and then her middle name is Patricia, and the last name's Ramsey. Got all that? Is that
interesting? Yeah.
Yeah. Father's name is JonBenét Ramsey.
Yeah.
She's Patricia Ramsey. So they did JonBenét Ramsey. Definitely a unique
Patsy
name.
Ramsey. No?
Well, Patricia's her middle name. No,
Patricia.
not Patsy. It's Patricia is her name,
Sorry,
but
Patricia.
they call her Patsy for short. Right. So
but she's really JonBenét Patricia Ramsey.
JonBenét Patricia Ramsey. Yes, right. They didn't use Patsy for that.
Right.
So, like I said before, she was involved in the whole pageant scene. So she got JonBenét involved in the whole pageant scene as a young girl, and basically passing down her love for it to her daughter.
Right.
And some people say that she was kind of living vicariously through her. I mean, she was,
I don't know.
Well, listen, I have experience with this because my daughters are involved in singing and theater and all that, and I did that. So kind of, and I noticed even my husband, some of the loves he has, he's tried to convince my kids that they should love it as much as he did. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We all do it. We
all do that. So
right.
I want to say that in her defense, for the people that think it's horrible that she put her kids in pageants, she loved it. She did it as a child. Nothing was probably ever bad happened to her. So it's kind of understandable that Patsy would try to get her involved in it because of her personal love for that competing and all that.
Absolutely. Like, listen, I played softball growing up. I obviously introduced it to my daughter. She loved it, and she did it all throughout high school herself. I mean, everybody can relate to that.
Right.
I don't think that's so weird. And I think it was just a way of people trying to point fingers and make her sound bad. And, I think it's just because it was pageant.
I don't want to mislead here because I do have an opinion about young girls, especially that young, having all that makeup and wearing skimpy outfits and things like that. We'll talk about that in a second. But I just want to say in her defense that her love for it was there. It kind of makes sense that she would try to encourage her daughter. I don't think she was maliciously trying to do anything or attract predators or anything like that. So she was kind of like a China doll, American Girl doll for Patsy. It's crazy. So she dives into the scene, piling on the makeup, designer costumes, dance lessons, singing lessons, the whole 9 yards, because you want to be a well-rounded candidate when you're competing in these things.
And then when we were watching some of her, quick clips, she is a really outgoing girl, and she definitely,
Oh
she
yeah.
performed so she was not shy. She was out there. Her
Right.
personality's great. So, and she's beautiful. So, like,
Yeah.
why would you not want to? I kind of get it.
Now, I
If I was her
personally
mom, I'd be super
wouldn't.
proud.
I personally wouldn't, and I have reasons for that. And if anybody's interested, I could go into that. But I don't necessarily think the mother was purposely doing anything. I just think it is attracts predators. Unfortunately, I do think it does. So,
Right.
what do you all think? You tell me what you guys think. Um,
Back in the day with those, it sounds like you only really knew about the pageant unless you know somebody who's in the pageant. Like people went to this pageant, it wasn't like advertised like come to this pageant. It
right.
just seemed like it was almost like a dance recital. You don't promote dance recitals, you just tell your family about the dance recitals.
Yeah, but no, it does attract. They do show up at those things. It has been proven
But
that they
now
do
they
show
do.
up.
Right
No,
now.
it's
But I'm
been
talking about back then, and it was so innocent in a
no.
sense.
No, back then they just, it wasn't as known, but they were there,
Oh,
is
that's
what I'm
true.
trying to say.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
true. Okay.
so, and another thing in defense of Patsy is a lot of people thought that she made her do it. And
No.
many people have said that JonBenét was like, I love this. I want to do this. Please, mommy, when's the next one? So she was very
Right,
much, into doing it.
right.
But on the other hand, just so you guys know, she had many, many crowns. She won many crowns. And when they were in her room, one of her friends had said, hey, you have so many crowns and everything. And she said, well, they're really my mom's crowns. JonBenét has been quoted as saying that by a friend of hers, saying,
Hmm.
well, they're really my mom's crowns. So that kind of speaks a little bit. But others say that she loved it. When she wasn't doing pageants, she was a tomboy. And like you said, and
Oh,
you confirmed, she's extroverted and she had a lot of charisma. This child had so much charisma. She
right.
was very much the brown noser in the family, the one that, used all the sweet talk to get her way. She was like
Yeah.
that. While Burke was kind of like awkward. He
Yeah.
was annoyed
Right.
by JonBenét. He was like, here's this girl, this beautiful girl getting all this attention. And I think maybe there was a little bit of jealousy on Burke's part. Maybe, you know?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
at this point, the family is so wealthy. They live on 15th Street in one of those old English Tudor mansions. It is just ginormous, 7,000 square feet. It's got four
Wow.
floors, including the basement. However, to me, the basement doesn't count as a floor, but people are labeling it as 4 floors with a basement. I personally think it's 3 floors with a basement. That's where I look at it. But all right, so this is important. Her bedroom is on the second floor, and she has her own bathroom and a private balcony with a door that leads into that balcony off the second floor.
Okay.
Okay, so imagine this. It's a very long house. That square footage is more about the length of the house. It's narrow, but goes further back, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Okay, and I
That
just
kind of
froze.
does. Yeah.
I just
Right.
froze up. Hopefully
I
it
know.
undoes it. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's because I moved my hands. I don't know. So anyway, it's on one side of the house, and at the far end of the second floor is Burke's bedroom. Now, the
Okay.
entire third floor was made into a whole master suite. Everything is Patsy and John's bedroom up there, including like a sitting area, bathroom, walk-in closets, the whole nine
Right.
yards.
The whole works.
But
Right. Right.
if you can imagine this, JonBenét on the second floor on one side of the house, all the way in the front, like above the front door. And Burke's bedroom is all the way in the back. Above him, like literally above his room, is where their bed was on the third floor. Okay, so
Okay.
she's really alone over there on the second floor. On that,
Well, it's
she's
a big
got
house.
it's
a
a
big house.
bit.
You're gonna
When
be.
I'm
Yeah.
when I'm saying alone, I'm saying in distance,
As in nobody
earshot.
can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. And they'd be quicker to hear something, a thump or something going wrong in Burke's room before they would hear anything in her room. Right?
Oh, okay. I see what you're
Okay.
saying.
So essentially all alone. At Christmas time, she was one of these women that like decorated to the nines. Christmas tree was in every single room. A train around the main tree. She had parties every single year that people like literally marked on their calendar for it because it was like the biggest event. Okay. She would have Santa Claus come, she would have like, it catered. There would be like easily 100, 200 people walking through her house.
I'm sure there was presents. I'm sure there was presents as well. Everybody got a present. Yeah.
Like one of those women that even changes the bedding to Christmas theme in every bedroom.
Yeah.
Like the Christmas and the plaid.
I wish I had the energy to do that because I would love that.
If you have a Christmas tree.
I just don't have the energy to do that.
I know. And if you have a Christmas tree, and I'm thinking, I don't know for sure. She was a stay-at-home mom, but they had housekeepers and nannies. They had the whole 9 yards. So I'm sure she had everybody helping her or hired people to help her.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, I doubt she went food shopping. I'm sure she had somebody who came and cleaned the house every day. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
You can focus your time on doing a Christmas tree in every room if you want.
Right.
Home.
So on the front, everything, her home was always in perfect order. But I beg to differ when you see the crime scene video, which I have the crime scene video. It's a mess. And I'm chalking it up that because she just had a Christmas party, that maybe that's why it was messy, but I don't know. Mail everywhere. I don't know. But anyway, most of the time she's been described as everything had to be in perfect order. She was all about appearances. Hair done all the time, perfectly manicured nails.
But that's also a very 80s thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Matching family outfits in pictures.
Yeah.
That one of those ladies. She reminds me of a more extravagant version of Betty Broderick. I thought about that today. You think
more extravagant, not the same? Because you think Betty Broderick
I think Betty Broderick was a more tentative mother. Don't kill me for saying this, but I think she was a milder version. I think Patsy was a force. I really do. I think she was a beautiful woman, and I don't think she was a terrible mother. I just think that she was just on a ride and was a machine, and everything was running a certain way and it had to look a certain way. And I think she did it for the love of her husband and the love of supporting his job and his position as this multi-millionaire CEO. And I think
I think that is definitely a characteristic of women in that status, though. I think
yeah, but they weren't in that status for long. I mean,
as in she just okay. I see.
They were only became wealthy not that long before. So I mean, it's been like 8 years that they've been wealthy at this point. So anyway, I also think that both John and Patsy, I think they're nice people, but I think they did have very big egos. That's just my take. I think they had very big egos. He worked a lot. What makes you say that, though? Just my impression. Just my impression. Now, before I move on, let's just take a look. This is the Colorado Christmas video that she made. It was not exactly. Where's my mouse? Okay, it was not that long. I mean, it was like maybe a year or two before her death. But here you go. Let's take a look at it. And I have the sound off because I don't feel we need the sound on, okay? But you could just get an idea. Actually, no, I don't want the sound off. I want it on because she does talk in this. So, yeah.
Hello, I'm Patsy Ramsey. Daddy's not here, but this is JonBenét. She's 4, Burke is 7. And we'd like to welcome you to our home and wish you a very Merry Christmas.
See look at the Santa Claus.
Oh my God.
How scary is that Santa? Like, as a creepy Santa.
Of whimsical ornaments collected from all around the world.
That's Patsy talking. Right, okay, it's just like a montage of her Christmas stuff. But look at that tree. It's
pretty. I mean,
there's really not an area that's not decorated.
Look at that that mantle.
Yeah, it's pretty ornate. Very 90s, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we can't hear her talk in this one. I don't know why. Oh, it's not muted, so that video is muted. All right, look at her dining room. I wish we could hear
Who's she
her.
making this video for?
I think she made it to advertise for her Christmas parties. I don't know. I'm not sure.
The original built-in cabinet contains JonBenét's collection of Maude Humphrey figurines.
Like,
Okay.
who needs that?
Right. But I love, because it gives you a little glimpse into her. All right, that's JonBenét's room. Look at the tree in her room.
Oh,
Look
how
at
cute.
how beautiful, right? This is outside. Right? Is that outside? Oh, no. I guess
It could
not.
be outside the balcony. They're very cute.
Okay. This must be her bedroom. This is the bedroom for the parents.
Oh,
I
right.
think. Yeah. Yep. This is the master bedroom.
Wow.
It just gives you an idea.
And
Right?
from all of us at our house to everyone at your house, Merry Christmas and the happiest of New Years.
Okay. So anyway, gives you an idea. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, okay. So a little bit more on them. So John Ramsey, he worked a lot and was rarely around. And that's kind of important to know too. I mean, and I think that's why she did double duty, because, you know, he went out and made all the money and he barely was around. They had a vacation home in Michigan, 2 private planes and a yacht. He was also he also was a pilot and would pilot his own planes. They had nannies, gardeners, and housekeepers. Linda Hoffman was one of their housekeepers, and she gets to be important later. We'll talk about her in part 2. Patsy was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer in 1993, but it went into remission shortly after she had treatment for it. Now, JonBenét was having issues with bedwetting in 1993. This was really upsetting for Patsy. Now, in the 80s and 90s, I think that it was more commonplace for parents to feel that you should punish your child when they wet their bed. And today we would never spank a child or yell at a child for bedwetting. And I don't think I would have back then either. I'm just not that kind of mother. But I think that parents felt, well, that is what you're supposed to do because it's bad and that's how you stop it. So Patsy was, and I don't know for sure if Patsy ever spanked JonBenét for this, but what we do know is there has been interviews with people that have stated that it would be extremely frustrating for Patsy that she was wetting the bed. And the other thing is even worse. Go ahead.
It doesn't follow the perfect protocol, you know?
No.
Perfect family. So.
But she would get annoyed with having to change the sheets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you know,
she's not changing the sheets.
Well,
She's
maybe
like,
at night when the housekeeper goes home. I don't know. JonBenét, they said, well, not JonBenét, but any child that is wetting the bed, it's usually a sign of anxiety or, unfortunately, some sort of trauma causes it. But I know kids that have wet the bed simply because they're just nervous Nellies, you know, or they are having, you know, they're upset because the teacher yelled at them in school, or they didn't turn their homework in on time, whatever. But anyway, it was more commonplace to punish for bedwetting back then. I don't agree with it, but I'm just saying I think more parents did it then than they do now. Now, what's even worse than JonBenét is that Burke was wetting the bed, but smearing his poop all over the walls.
Really?
Yes, he was. He was.
And he's
smearing...
older.
He's older. Yeah, he's 9 at the time of her death. So he was doing it right up until that point, you know, and having some issues with some anger. Burke was. Pediatrician notes from the pediatrician for JonBenét that were later recovered stated that in 1993, JonBenét was regressing with her eating habits. I don't have specifics. I'm assuming maybe she wasn't eating as well, or maybe she was like picky eater, you know? I know about picky eating, and her toileting. So regressing with toileting and eating. She was still drinking from a bottle until 1994.
So, okay.
So she was 4 years old and still drinking a bottle. She had bladder infections repeatedly and had a couple occasions had vaginitis. She also
That
had
could be from the result of
the bladder
having
infection.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
but
Right.
people that are against Patsy and John can have an argument that, yes, sexual abuse can lead to repeated bladder infections. But I'll tell you, I had a sister that had bladder infections for all the way up, like, for years, and she wasn't abused. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It could be a cause of sexual trauma, and it also could not, right?
Yeah.
She had repeated sinus infections. She also had problems with getting rashes all over her body. Burke had actually accidentally hit her in the face with a golf club once, and they had consulted a plastic surgeon about it. I don't think they ever did anything about it, because then we would have that in the notes, but they did end up consulting for whatever scar she had from that. So that's going to bring us to December 25th, 1996. On Christmas morning, they open their presents like they normally would on the 25th. That night, they end up going to a Christmas party at their friends. Patsy and John had friends, Fleet and Priscilla White. And they went to their home for dinner and presents and came home at 10 o'clock. Now, the first inconsistency in this story is that John Ramsey had stated two different accounts on what happened about her going to bed. One account was that she was asleep in the car when they pulled up, and he picked her up, carried her, and put her to bed. And the other account, he had said she was still awake. So never got that cleared up.
So when you say different accounts, like, you mean, is it on video or statements from the police, or?
He has stated this on interviews. He's had multiple interviews or with the police on, I don't have specifics as to where, but I just know that there are accounts where he has said that she was sleeping and he carried her to bed, and there's other accounts. And am I still freezing? How often am I freezing?
You just froze real quick just now.
Yeah.
It was so
Sorry
quick.
if I'm freezing. Yeah. That's new. Okay. So Burke admitted that on that night after they went to bed, he snuck downstairs to play with his toys. Okay. Her autopsy after her death later states that JonBenét had pineapple in her in her stomach she would have eaten it between 8 and 11 p.m. that night. Okay. There was pineapple at the Ramsey house, but also there was some pineapple in a fruit salad at the Fleet White's residence that she could have eaten. Burke's favorite snack was pineapple in milk. And in the crime scene video, which I will show you, there is a bowl of pineapple in milk on the dining room table, still left there, half eaten. Medical examiners said she would have eaten the pineapple about 1.5 to 2 hours prior to the time that she was strangled. And between 11 and 12 p.m., she suffered a massive blow to her head. And then between 12 and 1 a.m., she was sexually assaulted and died from strangulation. Okay? So, December 26th, Patsy wakes up, or about 5:30ish or so, and goes downstairs to get ready because they're getting up to go to their Michigan vacation home for Christmas. Okay, they're planning to take the private plane, and John was going to pilot it. Oddly enough, and this is a big one for people who are against Patsy Ramsey, when she comes down the stairs, she is dressed in the exact same clothes that she wore to the White party the night before. Is a red sweater and black pants. And she has a full face of makeup on at 5:30. And the reason why I'm saying that there's no way that she put a full face of makeup on any time later is because she finds a ransom note immediately. And no woman who's called the police and all that and is frantic because her child is missing is going to go upstairs and put a full face of makeup on. So the fact that when the police shows up, she has a full face of makeup tells you that either she put the makeup on at 5 a.m., but I doubt it, or she never went to bed.
No, honestly,
and wore the same clothes.
I honestly think when he called the cops, I think that's when she ran upstairs real quick and threw on makeup, and threw on the clothes that she had on last night. She wasn't going to rummage through and find a whole new outfit. She just wanted to put clothes on. So I think that
No,
was like the closest thing.
even she and John have admitted that before she went down the spiral staircase and found the note, which I'll get to, she put on that same outfit, and she mentions nothing about makeup. Yeah.
She said I put on the same outfit and put on makeup, or she doesn't mention the makeup?
She doesn't mention if she put on the makeup, but the fact that she was seen with like really well done makeup made people believe that it was the makeup from the night before.
Right.
Okay. So they do have 2 staircases in the house. By the kitchen is a spiral staircase that goes up. And if you continue to go up, it'll take you to the 2nd floor. And does it go up to the master bedroom? No, I'm not sure. I think it does. And she can go. I
think it does. Yeah. That's what she did. She wanted to go downstairs and make coffee. So
right. Which takes you right to the kitchen, which is in the back of the house. Okay, so where her bed and Burke and the kitchen, it's all in the back of the house. Now, the front of the house, when you first walk in the door, there's a staircase right there. And if you go to the top of that staircase on the 2nd floor, JonBenét's bedroom is right there because it's in the front. So anyway, she comes down and there's a note there, okay, addressed to John Ramsey. At first, she said she thought it was the housekeeper leaving a note for her because there was something mentioned about the housekeeper wanting to borrow money from them for Christmas. Like it was Christmas time was here and things were hard for her. And they thought maybe she had put it down in a note. So she wasn't as alarmed at first. But anyway, once she saw what the note really was, she woke up John yelling to check JonBenét's room. And of course she wasn't there. And Burke was still asleep at that time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show the ransom note. All right. And then I'm going to read it. And the reason why I'm going to read it is because it's kind of hard to read. And I have it. Yeah. I have it here in front of me typed out. So I want to make sure. But I'm going to read it along with you guys and we'll go slow. And I have a lot of things to say about this note. So we're going to stay on it because this note to me is everything. First of all, before we read, to me, and everybody agrees that whoever wrote this note is probably the person that killed JonBenét. Okay? Okay. Because it's just too coincidental. I mean, so the first part, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, spelled wrong, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed. And if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The 2 gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory. SBTC. Okay, so there's so many things.
But the thing is that you said between 11 and 12:30 she had this pineapple.
That's when when they're predicting she ate it.
Right. So it's in her stomach between 11 and 12. But then she dies between 12 and 1. I don't get, the note doesn't imply anything that they said that they're going to keep her until tomorrow. So it doesn't make sense. The note doesn't make sense.
Wait, I don't understand. What do you mean that doesn't make sense?
They leave the note, but they said that she died between 12 and 1.
No. Try not to get too confused with the note. We're just talking about the note right now. But yes, the medical examiner gave it a roundabout time for each thing. A roundabout time to when that pineapple was ingested. Okay?
Right.
It sat there for a while. A roundabout time for her strangulation and sexual assault. Okay? But I don't understand why you would even bring it up.
Because she died at 1:30. Didn't they say that she died at 1:30?
They're saying between 12 and 1.
Okay. So what I'm saying is this note implies that she's going to be alive, and it depends on what John does, whether she's going to stay alive or not.
Because
they know that she's sleeping. They know that they're sleeping. They're not going to get the note until they wake up at least 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. But they killed her hours before.
Well, that's what they want you to believe. But what I'm trying to say to you is that it could be that she is still alive and they have it wrong. The medical examiner could have it wrong. That's a possibility. It's highly unlikely, but it's a possibility. Or they took the time afterwards from 1 o'clock, whoever killed, to sit there and write this letter. And she had already been dead and everything was on time.
I think.
But let's talk about the ransom note, and we'll get into her time of death and all that afterwards. Okay. So one of the first things I noticed, the ransom note is so long, and nobody that writes a ransom note is going to sit there and write all of that. Okay, that is okay, and you would think it would be pre-planned. However, it can't be pre-planned because they found later on that this note was written on Patsy Ramsey's notepad.
Right.
And using her pen. Okay. So, and they know that because, when you write something and then you rip off the top layer, you can see the imprint from the previous one, kind of like it was traced.
Right.
So, right.
I remember them saying that. Right.
If there's an outside killer, okay, he would have had to hang out in the house for hours knowing that they're all sleeping upstairs and then find something to write and be comfortable in sitting there and writing it. For that long.
I think this guy wrote it. So I do believe, I don't know which guy brought it up or whose theory it was, but somebody brought up the theory that he broke in while they were away at the Christmas party that night.
And stayed in the house, right. And was
parked. And stayed in the house and had plenty of time to write that note.
Right. They could have wrote it before too.
Right, and I think his intentions were to keep her alive, but I think he just got overwhelmed and she died, by, in a sense, I don't want to say accident, but an accident. I don't think his intentions were to actually kill her. I think he wanted the money.
That's very good point. That's a good point because if it is an intruder, he could have just wanted to come in, have his sick fun with this little girl, and then it went too far. And there was a suspect that comes out later. We'll talk about him in part 2 that basically said that he admitted to it, and it turned out his DNA didn't match. But again, we'll talk about it later. But he does say that he loved her and all this ridiculous pedophilia nonsense about being in love with her, and that they had this bond and this relationship. And he was basically having sex with her or sexually assaulting her, and it went too far, and she died. Now, even though they couldn't match the DNA to that guy, that's not to say that another intruder out there couldn't have been literally doing the same thing. Like he was, didn't intend for her to die.
The same feelings.
And there's people out there. There's people out there that think somebody in the house did it as well, like John or Patsy or even Burke has been mentioned. And that would make, I will say, because for anybody who's listening right now, at the end of the day, I don't think John and Patsy did anything. I don't. I think they're innocent. However,
I do too.
I like to look at all sides. And there are people that do think John and Patsy are guilty. Okay. So this is where this comes in. It makes more sense that John and Patsy did it because they'd have all the time in the world to write that letter. It's their notepad. It's their pen.
It's not their handwriting, though. It's not their handwriting.
Right. Well, there are some people that say some things look like her handwriting, some doesn't. Again, it's very wishy-washy. She was found not to be the writer of this, but if you saw all the details and all the hoopla that went into trying to prove that, there was doubt in people's minds because they did say that certain parts of her handwriting did match. And can it be faked? I mean, it's like a lie detector test. Some people can fake a lie detector test. Can you fake a handwriting test and I'm sure it's not impossible, but it's unlikely. Right?
Right. And they are both too much of amateurs to think that way or do that. I think. You know what I mean?
Right.
But listen, if this person broke in after they left for this party, that person had 4 hours to learn the layout of the house, to walk around.
Pretty brazen, though. Pretty brazen to be walking around the house and sitting there and writing a letter with a dead girl in the basement with everybody home.
I'm thinking he wrote the letter before they got home. I think he broke in. They left the house. They were going to the Christmas party in the evening. He breaks in and just hangs out for 4 hours and hides, but then after a while he starts walking around, learns the layout of the house, knows where to go, and in the meantime writes this letter. 4 hours. 4 hours.
Right.
It's plenty of time to write.
Okay,
this.
so just to be clear. So what you're saying is, your theory is an intruder did it who was maybe eyeing her, knew she lived there, had no intentions of killing her, breaks in, plans to have fun with her, or even take her, to kidnap her, writes the letter before they get home, because his plan is to just take this little girl who's his dream girl and sneak out of the house the same way he came in, wrote the letter, and then everything went wrong after they got home. And then he left the letter anyway. He leaves the letter anyway.
But I think when everybody goes to sleep, he on his way to go get JonBenét, I think he stops and puts the letter in that back in the back staircase.
Okay.
Because because that's where she found it, and the staircase coming down. And the staircase that goes down to the kitchen. If
he had left it on the stair. Oh, so you're saying they just didn't see it? Because they did go to the kitchen and get pineapple and stuff. So how come they didn't? They would have seen it earlier. The son did. Saw it. The son saw it because he came down to get the pineapple.
I'm sorry. My kids at that age, at 7, they don't give a shit if there's anything on the floor. They don't pick anything up. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way.
You don't think, so if Burke comes down the stairs to go play with his toys or get pineapple, that you think he would just ignore it and it's sitting right there in the middle perfectly?
Absolutely. A kid, for sure. Adult would be like, oh, what's that? Yeah. No, I don't have, how many times have you left if there's just even like a piece of paper?
Wait. Actually, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm going to tell you why. If he is in the house, I'm going to tell you why. That makes no sense. They're out at a Christmas party at Fleet White's house. You're saying that he leaves it on the stairs before the girl even gets home. Yes, that's what you're saying.
No, I'm not. No, I'm saying before he goes to get her, before he goes to abduct her, he puts the letter out and then gets her.
I think he did. I don't think he snuck down to play with his toys until closer to when he went to go get her. I think Burke, they were all put to bed at 10 o'clock, right? And I'm sorry if we're confusing everybody. We're going back and forth here. But listen, they come home at 10 and they're in bed. And by the way, Patsy says she actually went to sleep at 10:30. So, all right. He comes in and he's in the house. He's been hanging out there the whole time, right? But he still has to go and get her around 11 or 12, for all this to happen the correct way. Burke coming downstairs to play with his toys at any point after 10:30, he would have ran into him.
Well, what makes you say it's after 10:30?
Because they went to bed at 10 and they were in their beds at 10 and Patsy was asleep in her bed by 10:30, which would mean if he snuck down to play with his toys, it would be after 10:30.
Well, listen, if I'm underneath my parents' bedroom and the staircase is right outside my door, they say goodnight to me, say goodnight to my sister, and I can hear them go up those stairs or walk above me in their bedroom. That's when I know I can sneak out because I know they're upstairs in their room. So I would go sneak out downstairs and go play with my toys.
But how long do you think he played with his toys before this guy went to go get JonBenét?
At least a good 40 minutes, because that's why they said between 11 and 12 he went to go get her. So I think he was waiting for the brother or to go back upstairs.
Right. So let's add on, let's say he came down for an hour or a half hour. Well, I mean, he ate pineapple and played with his toys. So we got to at least give it 30, 40 minutes, right? So let's say 10:30. Let's say 10:30. He comes downstairs.
I think he came downstairs like 10 after 10. I think he heard his mom go up the stairs, heard the walking around. She's washing the stuff off her face, getting changed. I'm sure they put the TV on or whatever. And he probably went downstairs real quick to get something. And I think he was probably scared to get caught. So I don't think he was down there very long. I think he just wanted to play real quick for a little bit.
What was that time frame I gave again? Let me look at my notes.
So 11 to 12, she was abducted.
11 to 12, abducted. No, that's not true. Okay, hold on. 11 to 12, a massive blow to her head. The blow to her head happens between 11 and 12. So you're saying that he would have to play with his toys, eat pineapple, and be back up in his bed by 11.
Right. So, and I think the reason how he got her was the blow to the head. I don't think he coerced her out of bed and say, hey, follow me to the basement.
No, because I think he used a stun gun on her because there's marks on her neck that shows that a stun gun was used on her.
Right. Oh, that's right.
Oh, he drank a cup of tea. I knew that. He drank iced tea, though, I thought it was iced tea. But he did. He had tea and a bowl of pineapple, Power One says. That's true.
Right.
Very good point. You know what? Okay. So, all right. So I'll continue from there. Hope I didn't lose my spot. Okay. So, all right. So back to the ransom note. Couple other things about that. The note, I guess you're saying because he had all the time in the world, that squashes my theory that he wouldn't write a note that long. I mean, he's got to not be a very smart individual. He uses we in the note, the ransom note. We are a group of individuals. What exactly does he mean by a group of individuals? Sometimes he says I or the two of us, doesn't he? Group of individuals. Written. Okay, hold on. I got my notes. It was a lot I wrote on this. Oh, that's the other thing. Small foreign fraction. Okay, the use of the word small. Okay, like, don't you want to exhibit power in your note? Why would you say we're a small little group? I mean, who would say that? It kind of minimizes, you know what I mean? I'm not freezing up anymore, am I? Okay.
You did one other time, but you're fine.
Okay. To me, the word foreign sounds kind of odd. Like, wouldn't you normally say something like we're from the Islamic something group and not just like some foreign? I just think that's really, really weird. We respect your business, he says in the note. Why?
Excuse me.
If Patsy was the author of the ransom note, she would have wanted to put distance between John's company and the investigation. So, and she would also be protecting their source of income as well. So if just another note to the people that say Patsy wrote this note, why would you do that? And by the way, $118,000 is what they're asking for ransom. That is the amount that John Ramsey got as a Christmas bonus that year. Exactly $118,000. I know that's not new to anybody, but it is so telling, and it does support that it's an inside job. Because how would your intruder know to give that number, 118,000?
Usually round it to 120, 150.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and here's another thing.
118.
he knows his company, right? He knows about his company. He talks about his business. This is a billion-dollar business. John Ramsey is a wealthy millionaire. Why would you ask for $118,000?
Yeah, it's just
that
not
makes
big
no
enough.
sense. That makes no sense at all to me. Tell me what you guys think. Oh, by the way.
Oh,
Make sure
don't forget to like.
Yes, I got it. All right. Okay. So the respect your business thing bothers me. And also, are we supposed to believe that JonBenét was kidnapped and then murdered because someone has a hatred for the United States? Because he says, we respect your business, but not the country that it serves.
I don't know. Does his business serve another country other than the United States?
The bigger point to me is that most people would agree that this is not an international incident.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like, this is not international. Like, okay. The writer crosses out the beginning of a word and it appears, the D and the O, the second letter. We don't respect your business. So at one point, and let me go back to the letter. Hold on. Where does it say we? Because I don't remember where I put it. But at one point in the letter, it says, in line number 3, we, see where he crosses off? It's we, and then there's a cross off.
I don't see your
third line down.
Mouse. Oh.
No, third line.
Third line down.
Listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like he was going to say, we don't respect your business, but not the country that it serves. And he crosses it off like he was going to say, we don't.
Right. So we respect your business, but not the country.
Right. So he crosses off. So anyway, but then he changes it. Okay. So a kidnapper who's already had his mind set would probably not make that mistake. Right? Don't you think? And he misspells 2 common words. After that, business and possessions are spelled wrong.
Okay.
All right. Well. So, all right. We have your daughter in our possession. The shortest way to say something is the best way to state it. A true kidnapper would have stated, we have your daughter.
Yeah.
Not we have your daughter in our possession. That's weird.
I think he was trying to sound smart.
And most kidnappers would also state, get the money. Right? Not just...
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he just had a lot of time to write it. I think he was just hanging out in the house for all those hours.
Yeah. And again, the 118 is a relatively small amount of money for this guy. A kidnapper would demand much more money than this for this little girl. And the phrase your account, kidnapper would not tell you like from where to obtain the money. They just wouldn't. Okay, other things.
What do you mean? Like, why would he not say your account? Was he supposed to say?
I just don't think a kidnapper would say it. Just say, get me the money, and that's it. You know? Just doesn't sound like very, very, very smart person is writing this letter. I'm just little small things. I mean, okay. Further on down. Yeah, I don't think anybody would tell you to bring an adequate size case to hold the money. That's kind of weird. It is.
I think he's just trying to get detailed.
And also, be rested. Tells him that he needs to be rested. That's weird. I'm nitpicking at this point.
Yeah.
But still, I'm looking for whatever I can. We will call you and we advise you to be rested. Changing. Yeah, that's so weird. Okay. All right. So, and as you know, the key time frame for the next day is to hear from them. They'll hear from the kidnapper by between 9 and 10 a.m. the next day, which is really the day of because they woke up at 5:30 a.m. Right. All right. So back.
But they never do.
What? They never do what?
They never do. They never do because he killed her.
Yeah.
They never called.
No, I know that.
Killed her.
Yeah, but for anybody who doesn't know, I have to leave some suspense, Jocelyn. I didn't even get to that part.
I know.
All right.
I mean,
so All right. So I showed you that. So also don't forget that movie that I made a note that that movie Ransom by Mel Gibson, it was huge, like right around the time of this murder. And I thought that was interesting because it's very similar to what happened. Did anybody else notice that?
So when did that movie come out?
I think it was like,
December?
I think it was that year or the year before. Pretty sure.
I'm going to have to look to see what the actual note says.
Well, I'll look at.
Let's see if it's, what if it says, I have your daughter in possession?
I know, right? All right, I'll look that up on the next one. We have a part 2, so I'm going to keep notes on what you guys want to find out. Okay. So, all right. So, hold on. Just reading my notes. Okay. After reading the note, she called 911 and went looking around and then checked in on Burke. Also, at around 5:52 a.m. is when the 911 call it goes down. And I actually did not pull the 911 call out because I think everybody's heard it. But there is talk about, maybe I should have pulled it up. Now I'm thinking I should have pulled it up, but we'll play it in part 2.
Okay.
So, but one thing that bothered me about the 911 call, and now you guys are going to want to hear it, and I don't have it ready to go, but she does say, I found the ransom note to the 911 call. Instead of I found a ransom note, she said, I found the ransom note. Which is weird.
Why is that? I get it, but why is that? Why are they looking at it as like such a like it's? I don't think it's such a big deal.
You don't?
I'm not a detective.
It's not like each individual thing might not be a big deal, but I'm looking for those nuggets again, so that when you put it all together,
I know, but I don't see how that's even a nugget. Like I found the ransom note. Like I don't know. Why does that matter? Like she said, the.
True. All right. Well, I still think it's different. Okay, I do have the call. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play the call because now it's bothering me that we didn't play the call. Hold on. Okay. All right, here we go.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. All right, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was this?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's gone.
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Patsy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been gone?
No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay,
Please, there's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath,
Please,
okay?
hurry.
Patsy.
Okay, listen. Okay, well, I think there might be more. They enhanced it. Yep. This is a whole different side. Okay, reinterpreted.
Patsy.
They think that there's a child's voice, and I think that is such BS, it's not even funny. Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay,
Wait.
That's what they think was said there. And I'm sorry, it's not even worth replaying. And I'm going to tell you why.
I
Because
know,
there's no way you can get that from that. You just can't. You could barely hear it, right?
I mean, I believe the autopsy report. They said that she died between the hours of 12 and 1:30, whatever.
What's that have to do with what? What's that have to do with the call that I'm talking about?
Then you say they heard a little girl's voice that said that?
No, Burke. They're implying that it's a child's voice, that it's Burke. Like, what did you?
Oh.
I was listening to another.
Oh.
I've been, like I said, I listened to both sides, and I listened to another news thing on
Podcast?
YouTube
Okay.
today. Yeah, it might have been a podcast kind of a thing. And they swore that she's saying, "What did you do?" And he goes, "What did you see?" I'm sorry, but I'm not even going to bother replaying it because you can't even get that from that. I couldn't even hear what they're saying was said at the end.
I mean, let's say he really did say that. Like at this point, he doesn't know his sister's gone. Maybe he doesn't want to be caught playing with his toys downstairs. You know what I mean? That's maybe.
Look at my frozen face. Can you at least freeze when I'm smiling? Has to be on like oh my gosh. Johnny, you got to fix that. Where's my tech support? Anyway, what were we saying? You can't.
Well, I'm saying,
ahead.
let's just say it was him who said it, right? What happens at this point? He doesn't know that his sister's gone. He doesn't really understand what's happening. He just sees his mom freaking out, and she just asks him, "What did you do?" And he's like, "Well, what did you see?" Like, because maybe he doesn't want to be caught playing with his toys downstairs. Maybe that was his reaction. Like, "Well, what did you see?"
Right. What did you do? Like my mother said that. What did you do? You know? And well, what did you see? Exactly.
Yeah, like. I was playing with my toys downstairs, and I'm not going to tell her that. I'm not going to rat myself out. So it's like,
right.
well, what we? That's like, you saying to your husband, going up to your husband, and you're saying, "What did you do?" Or when he comes up to you and said, "What did you buy?" Well, what did you see?
What packages did you see get delivered? Right? I know. Oh man.
Which department store are you talking about? No.
So they thought she had hung up, but she didn't. And like I said, there's people that are implying that Patsy said, "What did you do?" And that's a child's voice afterwards, and they're assuming it's Burke. And that fits into their theory. There's people out there that think Burke did it, that Burke killed his sister, which I'm sorry, he's 9 years old. She was sexually assaulted. Okay. Now okay. Do I want to do that yet? Okay, no, I don't. Well, okay, go ahead.
Well, they're going to test his DNA. That really should hopefully. Sometimes, like when you get answers of one thing and then it just literally closes other doors and opens up all these other doors that you're like, okay, now what? You know what I mean? It makes it worse.
Right.
But I mean, I just think I'm excited to see what this DNA. Now, did the judge say that they're going to test it, or didn't have anything to do with the judge? It had to do with the police officer.
They're going to get together this month and talk about it. So we don't have the latest update on that. Okay. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. In case you didn't know, we're Carolyn and Jocelyn. I'm all button happy over here. For Christmas, I got a new Stream Deck. It's really awesome. All right, so let me continue. So the first police officer arrives, Officer French. Patsy is upset, and they say that she was acting annoyed that he's there, and I think that's a bunch of BS. There's no way she was annoyed. She's just upset. You know?
Oh, yeah. Wait, time out real quick. I just wanted to say, after that phone call, there's no way. I totally retract what I said before. There's no way that woman's about her putting on her makeup between the phone call and the cops showing up.
No
way. Because she sounds super distraught. There's no way she would be able to put that makeup on that quick. So
yes.
She must have slept with it.
Right.
She had to sleep with that
I think
makeup.
So. Yeah. Maybe just, and I'm so glad you brought that up because there was one more thing I did want to say about the call. Guys, when I hear that call, I hear a true agony of a mother.
Oh, yes.
True agony of a mother.
Scared.
There was nothing fabricated. There was no acting in that. I'm sorry. It's so convincing. She's just.
Yeah, I agree.
So, like that feeling you get, like when you're in a store and you turn around, we've talked about this before and your kid's not there.
Right.
Times like oomph. Like it's just crazy. So anyway, Officer French shows up at 6 a.m. States that that she seemed annoyed, which I think he's just already was thinking that there was something wrong with his family from the get-go. The officer said that he woke up Burke with his flashlight in his face. They were trying to get him out of the house. They had immediately after calling 911, and this is true, and it is weird of the Ramseys. As soon as they hung up the phone, they called all their friends to come over, including the Fleet Whites, Fleet and his wife, to come over immediately. Now, I love you, girl.
Let me ask him, do
I love
they
you, but
have
it's some
family?
what?
Do they have family? Do they have family in the area?
No, all their family is in Georgia.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I know I would have called my sister, but if my sister wasn't around, I'd be calling friends.
No, you wouldn't have all these people coming over to your house. I don't think you would. I wouldn't. Look, if I love you to death, but I don't know if I'd call you right away. I just don't know. I would be too wrapped up in my own agony and be searching the house and tending to the police and all that. So by the time 8 o'clock...
Tending to the police?
Tending to the police that are showing up. You're talking to the police that are showing up. Tending to them.
Right.
So I wouldn't be doing that.
I would want comfort. I think I would want comfort, but I think I'd get comfort from having my sister there.
No, I'd be too busy looking. It was still so new and fresh. I would be still searching and going in the neighborhood and all sorts of stuff. Let's see what she says here. Hold on.
I think that's like a
why would the kidnapper plan to take the child down back through the basement and carry her out the window with them when he could have easily went out the front or back door? Well, because the front and back door would make more noise than going back down through the window, right?
Plus, it'd probably leave evidence. Because they didn't snow in the back or snow in the front.
Well, you can leave evidence either way. I don't think that matters. I just think going out through the back door or the front door is riskier because it makes more noise. But if you're way down on they're on the fourth floor, let's say, if we go by the way they advertise the house. The parents are on the fourth floor. The basement, you ain't going to hear squat, right?
Yeah.
It seems the police officers from the beginning were looking toward the Ramseys and not an outsider. I agree with that.
Well, I think they did look towards other outsiders, but they just didn't look enough. I think they just kind of were like, okay, we did it. Check it off the list and let's move on. And
but the ransom note said not to didn't. I don't understand. And did I freeze again? So sorry.
But the ransom note said not to didn't it.
Oh, right. The ransom said not to call the police. Right. We'll go into that. Okay. Yeah, that's important. So, Jocelyn and people that are listening, your kid, you get this note saying that your kid is gone and you better follow directions and I'm going to kill her. Even went as far as saying we'll behead your child. Don't call the police and wait for our call at 10 o'clock. And then the first thing you do is call 911. Would you do that?
Yeah, I would.
I probably would too, but it probably would take me a while before I did that. I wouldn't have done it so fast. I would have been like, wait a minute. Do you see what they're saying here? They're saying not to call the police. They're saying that they're going to kill our child. They're going to behead her. We can't call the police. I probably would entertain that. No?
Yeah, I probably would call.
You got to really try to put yourself in that position. Like, think about it. Your kid's missing. You are so desperate in that moment. Why would you go and do the one thing that they're telling you is going to completely blow your chances of ever seeing your kid again? But on the other hand, I understand our natural human nature is when there's a problem is get help right away. So which is it? Like, which is really, I don't know. I think the answer to that power of one is your name is, I don't think you could judge either one. I don't think you could judge the person that calls, and I don't think you could judge the person that doesn't call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just each person is different in how they handle things.
Yeah, I think I would have. I think I definitely would have called the police because at that point I feel like I do need help. I can't handle this person by myself, and my chances are better with using a professional than not.
True, but like she says, immediate reaction is to call the police. I agree with you, but you just read that they're going to cut your child's head off. Okay? And if you really believe that they mean business and they took your kid, I don't know, man. There's a part of me that's like, wait a minute. They said they're going to kill her. We got to at least try their way first. It bothers me. Yeah. It definitely bothers me.
I mean,
Okay.
back in the day, how would they know that you called the cops? But nowadays, with surveillance, the way everything is,
They could have been right outside the door watching. I don't know, or listening. Who knows? Okay.
yeah.
So the Whites came over, and Fleet offered to take him back to the house, to where they live, to get Burke out of the house. Okay. Then the FBI was also called to get involved. Officer French then searched the house. He did go into the basement and did not go into the cellar, which is where JonBenét ends up being. But that basement is a maze. That whole house is a maze. But when you go downstairs, there is a door tucked away in the corner there that is shut, and it never gets opened by the police the first time around. Okay?
Right.
That's weird. So one person or one account out there is that the door was jammed and he tried to get in and he couldn't get it unjammed. But that's not true because it easily opened after that. So I don't think so.
Right.
So then there's this detective, Linda Arndt. She's a piece of work too. And in part 2, I'm going to show her her interview. But she arrived and stayed on the scene. She immediately was against the parents, especially John Ramsey. Okay, just so you know. But she says the parents were distant with each other. She was observing the parents, and they weren't talking to each other. John was wandering around the house, opening mail, making jokes with the police. And Patsy was crying and was around all the friends that filled the house. I mean, it wasn't just a couple friends. Apparently, it was a large group of people that came over that were their friends.
Right.
And everybody here can agree with me, right? That is absolutely ridiculous. That totally ruins the crime scene, right? You have people walking around with their DNA and their footprints everywhere, and you totally destroying the crime scene, which is the house, right?
Right, but they didn't say that. We didn't know it was a crime scene yet.
Even
really.
if she was kidnapped, it's a crime scene. She was taken from the home. So that means
that's
the
true.
guy was inside the house, right? You need only to
Right.
see the family's DNA and the kidnapper's DNA. And now you just added
Right.
all the Joe Schmo and his whole crew are in your house walking around.
Yeah, that's true. They probably should have told him to. They're probably not going to tell him to leave though either. New button.
No, new button. Well, really, wait.
Why didn't you call the police before? Are you an idiot?
Anyway.
I mean, where would they go? I guess,
Where would who
I don't
go?
know how that goes. I guess the cops would have to tell them to leave. Really, if it's a crime scene.
Well, they should have had everybody leave immediately. The police should have said, even the police. It's not just the Ramseys. In fact, they're not supposed to know better. They're in the middle of an emotional, turmoil.
Right.
It's the police I'm mad at. It's like, what kind of investigation are you running here? They should have immediately said, everybody out, everybody out. Go down to a hotel up the street and everybody can gather there until you get more information. But they're laying around in the living room. There's people walking around in the kitchen. They're eating, drinking, whatever, crying. It's ridiculous.
I mean, when they nitpick about John looking through the mail, I mean, his reasoning was that he was looking for a possible second letter or just something. But it's like you're really going to be evaluated about your moves, like after all that's happening. Like they were just sitting around. They called him around 5 o'clock, 5, 6 o'clock. They were waiting for the 9, 10 o'clock phone call. So that's like 4 hours just twiddling your thumb, sitting there. I mean,
all right, I know it's going to sound. It's going to sound like I'm going back and forth. Oh, I'm glad you think it's funny. I'm glad you guys think it's funny. Laugh away. I don't care. You know what? This is what we'll do. This is what we'll do.
the whole time.
I'll tell you what, when I freeze, we're going on you. All right. Oh, whoops. Okay. So I still have myself paused there. All right. I'm playing. I know I'm going back and forth because I do like to look at both sides. So let me say, and you know what? I'm almost going to lose my train of thought again because that just totally threw me off that I got frozen. You know what? Forget it. I'll go back to it. Okay. So, Linda, oh yeah, I remember now. So Linda Arndt is sitting there, right? She's heading up this investigation, this police, head of police detective. I think she was a detective. Right. If you're sitting there in their defense It is pretty unbelievable. It's a long, dragged out note with really particular information. I would be sitting there and I would be looking for every little detail myself. I would.
Right.
Because
Right.
not only are you supposed to do that as an investigator, but it is a very wonky type of circumstances that you're walking into. I mean,
Right.
this little girl
I
is just
agree.
literally taken out of her house with her family there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So she tries to keep John Ramsey busy because she sees him just kind of like floating around the house. So she tells him to go search the house again from, her words were, top to bottom. But he went bottom to top. So he immediately goes to the basement with Fleet White, his friend Fleet White, and goes right to the cellar door, opens it up, apparently, and again, different accounts are out there because this case is old and there's a million people talking. Okay.
Right.
There's one account that says that he opens a door and before he flips on the light, he sees the bunched up blanket in the middle of the floor and says, I found her, and then turns on the light. Some people say that's really suspicious. Okay. But he said, I just opened the door, saw her, and darted right for her. And he rips the duct tape off her mouth, which was a no-no.
Right. Right.
Tainting it.
That's because he's trying to save her. He thinks that she could be like possibly living still.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
maybe. Yes.
I mean, really, it was the investigators. Like, she should have never done that.
Mm-hmm.
Sent him, sent him on a hunting trip. Like,
he even
why?
says, he has said in an interview that when I opened the door, I was so happy. I felt so much joy because to me, I found her. He goes, never in
Yeah, I
a
get
sec.
that.
It took me like a couple seconds to realize that she was dead.
Right.
So her wrists were bound above her head with a white cord, and there was a cord around her neck connected to a paintbrush that belonged to Patsy Ramsey. And it was like tied up as like a makeshift garrote. You take the
Right.
paintbrush and then you wrap it a certain way so that when you wrap it around, you use the paintbrush handle to pull, and then it like slides to tighten the neck. And it's really disturbing. He removes the duct tape. He screams, brings her upstairs, lays her on the floor by the Christmas tree. And essentially the crime scene is destroyed.
Right.
I mean, why didn't you just leave her and say, oh, I better not touch? Why wouldn't you know better to just leave her and just go get the police and let them handle it?
Because he thought that she was alive, or I think he was like, he can resuscitate her in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way. The detective should have never sent him on a hunt around the house. Why?
Right.
Why would you do that? Who sends their own parent to go do that?
Yeah, pretty irresponsible. But I think they didn't think for a second she was in the house, and they just wanted to give him something to do. I don't know.
That's true.
Coroner's team removed her body from the house at 10:45 p.m. that night. Let's see. What do we got? At that point in time, her body was probably already discolored. I read that when he brought her upstairs, her body was already stiff. Yes, it was already stiff. And he brought her right to Patsy and everybody that was in the room, and she
Right.
just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. And then get this, and we'll hear this in Linda Arndt's interview when we do part 2. When she's talking about John Ramsey, first of all, she is so freaky. And I think she just wanted her 15 minutes of fame. I really did. She's like, he looked at me with this look and I just knew. And I'm like she knew he was a killer. And I'm like, give me a break. Have you seen John Ramsey's interviews? He's like the nicest
No.
guy. He's like the
Oh, yeah,
sweetest
him,
man.
yes.
And by the way, at 80 whatever years old, him pushing to get this DNA resampled. Who's going to do that 28 years later when there's probably very little chance he could ever get solved? If he did it and draw attention to himself, why would he do that?
Right. I
He
mean,
wouldn't do
the
that.
case hasn't been spoken about since their 20-year anniversary, which was 8 years ago. Why bring it up again?
Right.
You know what I mean? If it's so, if it was him or them.
I
agree.
The family goes to Boulder Police Station on the 28th, and they willingly give hair, blood, and handwriting samples. The next day, the Ramseys go back to their former hometown of Atlanta in preparation for JonBenét's funeral. They ripped him apart for that, saying, how could you leave? Your daughter was just found murdered and you get on a plane and leave 2 days later? I mean, all their family's there. You know, the police is running the show now. It's why would you even want to go to bed in that house? Right?
Yeah.
I agree. I wouldn't want to be too far from my daughter, but the overwhelming circumstances of all the other bad things about staying would win for me. I would be like, I got to get out of here. You know what I mean? At least for a couple of days. So the people that are bashing him for leaving, like, get over yourselves. December 31st, her funeral is held in Marietta, Georgia, next to her older half sister, Beth, who had died before. Yeah. We're back on you, sister. All right. So
that's hilarious.
No, it's not.
It is always. It's always
not
when
hilarious.
You have the worst
Are you all
face.
laughing? Are you all laughing? John was said to be calm and had been in the Navy. To me, it seems like that wouldn't be a natural instinct. Right.
I mean,
yeah. He
I
probably
think
was one of these people that knew how to handle those tough situations, right?
Right.
All right. So before we go, I'm going to just play the crime scene footage on a high speed because it's a 12-minute video, and I'll play it on high speed. It's so interesting. Okay. I'm going to tell you why it's interesting.
Just don't forget to pause when we see something.
Well, it's
or
not.
I see something.
I'm not going to pause because it's not. Well, it's actually not her body or anything. It's just a tour of the house at the exact time that this crime occurred. Okay. So it goes through pretty slow, and even on high speed. And let me change my speed now. I'll put it on the highest one for y'all.
But then we really can't see it.
No, because it still goes slow. No, it's still pretty slow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the initial video is slow moving.
It is. It's really like so slow. So let's take a watch of it. Okay. Okay, so apparently there's a lot of damage to that door there. I don't think that means anything, though. It looks like it could be dings or just dirt. I don't know. What do you think, Glenn?
Why do they live like that?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was talking about how, like, completely orderly she is. And her house is a pigsty. And this is literally like the 28th. This is taken immediately after so this is what it looked like.
Well, maybe the house cleaners.
But they just had a housekeeper on Christmas vacation.
Yeah, but there's a lot of
sorry.
there's a lot of left little stuff everywhere.
Right, and fingerprints, which of course is not going to matter because they had 1 million people in the house. Okay, I don't know what the point is.
7,000. Just a check laying around for 7,000.
Right. Yeah, I like it bigger. I'm going to put it bigger. So anyway, you guys can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
But just like piles of crap everywhere, like clutter. There's just clutter everywhere.
Clutter. She likes a lot of tchotchkes.
Yeah.
Like, look at that.
But that's a sink there. So why do you have like what looks like a sock, a scarf, bunch of mail?
Yeah.
Checks.
What's that say?
Kevin Albert. Hey, Karen Reed case. I'm just kidding.
Are they intertwined?
They're intertwined, maybe. All right, there's a staircase. Wait, that might not be the same one. That might be wait a minute.
No, I think that's their staircase. Yeah.
No, but it might be a different section, a different part of the staircase in a different part of the house. All right, that's the front staircase from the front door is behind you.
Why would you have 3 sets of stairs?
Right. Well, I'm saying it goes all the way up. It could have been like, I don't know. Okay. So we'll see.
One floor to another. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it moves pretty from room to room, but I can figure it out if I see a little more. Oh, this is JonBenét's room because it's got the yellow tape on it. They put the yellow tape on her room first. So this is her room. It's so eerie.
Yeah.
It's so eerie.
Talk in the background.
What? No, but I mean, well, I didn't want the music on. It's just stupid music, and I don't want to hear it. I would rather us talk about what we're seeing, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I could slow it down if you want me to. Is it too fast?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so at all.
Dollhouse. I think you get to see all her crowns.
Like stuff on the floor.
Yeah, just crap everywhere. So much for being a tidy housekeeper. But then again, kids' rooms are always messy. Always.
Oh God, that's
all right.
so
There's
true.
her crowns. I just think that's fascinating.
Her awards are on the floor.
I always get
'cause it's so
fascinating.
big.
I'm really big on looking at crime scene homes, homes where
Right.
they occurred. Like, you know, when we were watching the Menendez brother crime scene,
Yeah.
going through the house and just seeing the layout of the house. I don't know what it is. I have like this weird obsession with home layouts.
I mean,
go-
it's the normal. It seems like a normal kid's.
Okay, is that blood? Or it could just be.
know.
No, she
normal
slept in the
kid's
one on the
bedroom.
left. She slept in the bed that's
Yeah.
on the left. Yeah. Yeah, typical young girl's closet.
Yeah.
Bathroom. There's the balcony door. There's the bathroom. Huge bathroom.
What? Yeah.
But it's
Looks
just
like somebody's
sad.
in the bathtub. Doesn't it look like somebody's in the bathtub?
No. I don't see anybody in the bathtub.
I said, doesn't it look like
But
somebody's
look,
in the
it's her
bathtub? Oh, there it is. Okay.
toothpaste and her, whatever, her sock on the floor or whatever that is. It's just, that's exactly how she left it.
Yeah.
It is so incredibly sad. Note in the bathroom looked like the same pen used on the ransom note, Power of One says.
Oh, did you see how pretty her towels are with the bows? Oh my God.
Any guys on here are rolling their eyes right now. Oh, look at the bows on the towels.
So fancy.
Yeah, I love her bedroom. That's so like typical of that time. I had a friend or two that had a bedroom
yeah.
with that kind of painted furniture.
Not me.
All right, notice the sheets on. The sheet is on, correct? Because in another picture somewhere out there, it shows like this, like the mattress has been stripped of its sheets to try to say, wait, let me look. No, her sheet's on there. Okay, there's other pictures where the mattress is stripped of any sheets, and they're trying to say that it was Patsy Ramsey got upset because JonBenét wet the bed, and she took all the sheets off in anger and hit her, and that's how it happened. And like hit her too hard, and then had to like stage it and make it look like she was sexually assaulted, which is a bunch of BS because you can see right there there's sheets on. Okay, this is
There's
the
a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah, this is their dinette. I don't think this is their main dining room. Because I saw a dining room picture before that had a much longer.
This
Okay,
might
here's
be their kitchen table.
yeah. Look, bowl of pineapples right there. And they're going to show it again, and then there's the tea. I see the tea. I knew that he
Where's
drank
the tea?
You'll see it.
Oh, there it is. No, where's the tea?
Wait, hold on. You'll see. You should see it because I saw it. No, hold on. Don't go back to it. There it is. There's a tea bag in there. There's a tea bag in there.
Okay.
The
Right.
bowl of pineapple with milk. Now, she loved pineapple, but I know he loved pineapple with milk. So yeah, there is the house. Now, we'll wrap it up today. Part 2, I'm going to show some crime scene. I'll try to be really gentle about what I show, but I'll show some crime scene of JonBenét for the purposes of seeing her neck and the marks on her neck and the 2 spots that will be able to, that Detective Smith had figured out that it was
Electric thing. The electric.
taser thingy.
Taser.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we're going to go through the interviews with Patsy and John Ramsey. And then all these other suspects that have come up since then. And including some new discovery about another little girl that died really close to here. So we're going to talk about that. And then we'll wrap it up then.
Well, she didn't actually die though. She.
I'm
right?
sorry.
She
It was
didn't actually die. Right.
attempted kidnapping of a
Right.
girl right around the corner. So I'll go into detail about that.
Right.
But yeah,
That was.
so I am like excited to get to part 2. Before we go, guys, this is kind of like sad, but like unfortunately, a very good friend of Jocelyn's, an acquaintance of mine in high school, passed away this morning, and we just wanted to give a shout out to him.
And his family. I mean, it's upsetting because we just found out that they're not flying the body up. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not flying him up for the funeral, so everything's gonna happen down in Florida, and we're just so upset.
I know.
I've known
I'm
him
really...
since he became my neighbor. I met him. I think I was in 7th grade, and I've been there for every one of his kids. He's been there for mine. You know, I mean.
He was the nicest, funniest guy. He always made everybody laugh. He cheered everybody up. He always had a smile on his face. And it's just really sad that he's not with us anymore. And I'm praying for his family. And he's got 3 kids. And it's just really, really, really horrible.
It's just crazy.
And pray for you,
kids are
too.
Older.
We'll pray for you, too, Jocelyn. You know, because it's hard for you and your family. And all of you, your whole crew over there was so close to him and Tony. So love you, and I'm really sorry. Yeah. My daughter's
really upset that the funeral's not here either, because for us, I'm Catholic, so we like going to the viewing. It's a nice closure for us. So I mean, they said that I'm sure we're going to be able to view it online, but it's not the same. You want to be there to pay the respects. So it's going to be rough.
So, I'll be praying for you and for his family. And,
So I just also wanted to say that, just in case somebody should ask, he had died from a heart attack.
Yeah.
He was only 52.
So young. Yeah. Too many people are passing away earlier than usual these days. Yeah. That's a whole other podcast episode. Yeah.
Well, our kids, your oldest, my youngest generation, I don't know what gen or whatever they're considered, but that particular generation they're destined to pass away in their early 70s, I believe. Like they don't have a long life because they're very...
That's not very comforting.
Sediment. Yeah, very sediment. And
you mean sedentary?
Other factors.
You mean sedentary?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's depressing.
It's really the first generation where the kids weren't outside playing. Most of those generations, they're indoors playing. With
Go
their
outside and get moving.
Yeah.
Go outside. Anyway, thanks for joining us today. Go ahead.
Yes. No.
Yeah. Did you guys hit the subscribe button? I hope you hit the subscribe button and join us on part 2. I think I'm going to do part 2 on Thursday and move our cult episode till next week. Okay. So we're here Thursday night. Sound good?
Yes, sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, y'all.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yes. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.